I'm going to start off with zinc there because I was talking, not sure how much I got caught up, but we know that zinc supplements are most often taken to treat colds, and there is some science to suggest that when administered within, if you take it within 24 hours of the onset of cold symptoms, zinc supplements have been found to reduce the duration and severity of the common cold in healthy people, and the mechanism by which they work is unclear. What we also do know is that there is no science that zinc supplements marketed to improve immune function, enhance fertility or sexual performance, and cure the common cold. And for most of us consume adequate zinc, so we know that the extra zinc, there's no evidence that it enhances any of these properties, though it may do, if you have a mild zinc deficiency, it may be beneficial. And we know that in wound healing, for those people that have chronic wounds, that vitamin zinc are part of collagen synthesis, and that zinc supplementation may be beneficial for short durations. Zinc sources, we talked about that: meat, liver, eggs, dairy products, vegetables, legumes, and seeds. Selenium, I'm just going to touch briefly on. It's incorporated in the structure of certain proteins. We get it mostly in seafood, kidney, liver, eggs, grains, nuts, and seeds. We see it in Cushing's disease, that's a heart disease in China, and a deficiency can be an increased risk of cancer. But in the United States, we seldom see that. There is some speculation that selenium supplements can reduce the risk of cancer, but there's really not enough studies about that yet, and that's part of why a balanced diet with a variety of foods is important. This talks about glutathione peroxidase and free radicals, and potentially that selenium reduce the body's need for vitamin E and neutralize free radicals, and that's where the cancer speculation comes from. Some people say take selenium for their hair and nails, and this is typically only seen in areas where there are deficiency, so you have to be cautious with that. Iodine, 3/4 of the iodine we use is where it's found is in the small gland in the neck called the thyroid gland, and it's concentrated in this gland because it's a component of thyroid hormones that are produced there, and thyroid hormones are involved in our metabolic rate, growth and development, and they promote protein synthesis. So iodine in health and disease, and what we see if our blood levels drop, then our body regulates that process to make sure that it's releasing the iodine. What we seldom see iodine deficiency in more prosperous nations. It still is a global health issue. It's declined dramatically since universally salt was iodized, and that was adopted only in 1993, and it's estimated that about 70% of households worldwide now have access to iodized salt. But here you can see a picture of goiter in a person who has a large thyroid gland that is often treated with iodine due to iodine deficiency. RDA is small, it's in seafood, iodized salt, and food contaminants and additives. And you saw brain damage and goiter and thyroid issues are all part of this deficiency, and goiter can be also a problem with excess. So most of us are using iodized salt, so it's not an issue. Chromium is a component of the glucose tolerance factor. We're learning a lot more about chromium. It's a small peptide required to maintain normal blood glucose levels. The RDA is listed there. We find it in liver, brewer's yeast, nuts, whole grains. Deficiencies are rare and excesses are little evidence. I find that a lot of things have chromium supplementation, especially all these protein drinks and all different kinds of stuff now. But you can see deficiency and excesses really don't do much for us. Fluoride, talk a little bit of that is a trace mineral, and we know that it's incorporated into crystals in tooth enamel, which protects against cavity-causing acids produced by bacteria. And in saliva, it decreases the bacterial acid production and inhibits the dissolution of tooth enamel by acid and increase enamel remineralization after acid exposure, and it's incorporated into crystals in the bone. The RDA is quite small, and remember these are trace minerals, and the small amounts are almost always in soil, water, plants, and animals. We know toothpaste, tea, marine fish with bones, and fluoridated water. Deficiency can lead to tooth decay, and excesses can cause black and brown stains and cracking and pitting of the teeth. Here we see too little fluoride, and dental caries on the top, and too much fluoride on the bottom, mottled teeth, and a condition called fluorosis. Manganese is part of some enzymes and involved in carbohydrate and cholesterol metabolism, formation, urea synthesis, oxidative damage prevention. Again, it's a trace mineral, small amounts, usually less than 100 milligrams and way less, and we can get that from whole grains, nuts, legumes, leafy greens, and vegetables. Molybdenum, it's a trace mineral needed to activate enzyme functionings in our body, and it's readily absorbed from food, and it's excreted in the urine and the bile, and we find it in milk and milk dairy products, organ meats, bread, cereals, and legumes. And here's just a quick overview of the trace minerals, and that chart's in your book. So what should you eat? When we talk about this chapter, what I want you to come away with is you need to stay hydrated. You need increased potassium intake from fruits and vegetables, decreased sodium intake from processed food. Get calcium in your body. You don't just need soda to drink. You need dairy products, and reduce the amount of soda intake. Don't fret about phosphorus. Maximize your magnesium. Add more iron and increase iron absorption. Think zinc, and trace down your minerals. That's the end of chapter 8.